Traveller situation in Harlow. How do things go?
A really useful discussion, I think. Mainly just being able to go through some of the powers that are there locally to make sure everybody's fully aware of the powers they've got, how they're using them, and also, in some cases, for the council and the police to be able to have that conversation about how they're using it and how they're working together for the benefit of people here in Harlow.
Because people in Harlow and areas such as Thurrock as well, people are coming extremely frustrated. Can you understand their frustrations?
Absolutely. When you've had a situation that's been acute like that and going on for some time, we all get frustrated. We want to see this dealt with. I think so I was delighted that Rob Halford invited me down today to see on the ground what's happening, how the powers are being used, and also it gave me the chance to talk to the local authority and the police about all the powers that are there. And we have published it, so anybody who's watching this can go on the government website. There's a really simple document that outlines all the powers that local authority and the local police have got. And if people feel they're not being used, they're written in such a way people can get a good understanding of that and challenge their local police and their local councillors to make sure those powers are being properly used to ensure fairness for everybody.
The police are indicating that life is a bit more complicated than what these powers are suggesting.
Well, it's very easy for us all to sort of look at something and very simply say, well, that can be easily dealt with. It is true, the police are quite right, that sometimes things are more complicated, but ultimately, powers are there. They're there to be used in the appropriate way to make sure there is fairness for everybody, both the settled community of Harlow and elsewhere, and people who have got a particular lifestyle. It's not to make sure that one section of society gets treated differently. It's about fairness. And actually those powers are usable and can be used consistently for everybody's benefit.
And finally, if I cast back to about 2006 with the East of England Regional Assembly and spatial demand pitches, back then people were saying we need to supply more pitches. There's a lot of political arguments in some parties against it. And is this a case of be careful what you wish for, that now we have this situation?
Well, actually, the problem with those top-down targets is actually it just irritated everybody and nothing ever happens. Everybody spent their entire life fighting against a top-down target that took no account of real local beliefs, understandings and experience. What we've set in place is that these are now within the local community's power. When they do their local plan, which is devolved and worked out locally, or their neighbourhood plans, which literally local neighbours can work out, they look at what their need is, what their growth is going to be, and what they think they might need. Now, Essex County have just done this in terms of what they need for travellers. Harlow haven't yet responded to that formally. It's very, very recent. And obviously that's something they've got to look at and work out what they think their genuine local need is, actually taking into account all parts of the local community.
Minister, thank you very much. Robert Halford, discussions this morning, how did they go?
Well, I think we made some progress. The Minister came, I asked him to come down, the Minister for Travellers, because there was lots of government laws available to move travellers. When I say travellers, I'm talking about travellers who are illegally using land, which is what's happened in Harlow, illegally trespassing on land, making residents' lives a misery. It's been intolerable for residents for months now, and I believe that the police, you need to use the laws that are available and have a zero tolerance to this. The Minister's been around on a tour to see everything. He's had a big discussion with the police, with the local council and with the Chief Commissioner of Police. As I said, I think to your Harlow before, every resident who's affected by travellers, or they've now moved to the one Passmore site, they may spread out again, please write to Nichols, the Chief Commissioner of Police, and let him know what is going on, because that is his job as the elected police commissioner, to represent the people of Harlow and make sure that the law is properly applied.
People of Harlow expect that if people go onto land like parcels, that the police can sort of evict them within 24 hours, etc. But is that ever going to happen?
Well, it should happen, because the law says, and it's very clear, that if there is a site with more than 6 vehicles, the police can issue a thing called a Section 61, and that they then have to move. What I don't understand is why the police have been inconsistent in using the Section 61. And there's also lots of other laws. There's Section 62. I don't want to go into a lot of detail. There's Section 69 against trespassing, or, for in big fields and so on. So there's plenty of laws there. What needs to illegal travellers need to know that there is a zero tolerance to crime. And the important point to make is this: there are 4,000 odd people in Harlow on the waiting list for council houses. They're not allowed to set up camps, they're not allowed to build on a land, they're not allowed to trespass on land, and if they did, the law would crack down on them. And yet travellers who say they haven't got places to go to are seemingly allowed to set up illegal encampments, and not just set up illegal encampments, but make misery for hundreds if not thousands of Harlow residents, and enough is enough. And I'm doing everything I can. It's why I've raised it in Parliament, why I asked the Chief Commissioner to come a few weeks ago, why I've been bringing the Minister down today, because we need to put pressure on all the relevant authorities to say zero tolerance to illegal traveller encampments in Harlow.
Robert Halford, thank you.